Before I start comparing supportive decision-making with conservatorships, once upon a time, I had a conservatorship placed on me. Thankfully, I am no longer under a conservatorship. In 2023, I served on the California Department of Developmental Services National Conservatorship Expert Panel. The 7 rights that being under a conservatorship can be removed from a conservatee, a person under it, are 1, right to make medical decisions. The conservator may have the authority to make decisions about the conservatee's medical treatment and health care. 2, right to manage finances. The conservator may take control of the conservatee's financial affairs, including managing assets, paying bills, and making other financial decisions. 3, right to enter contracts. The conservatee may lose the ability to enter into legal contracts or agreements without the consent of the conservator. 4, right to vote. In some cases, the conservatee may be considered unable to take part in the electoral process. 5, right to control personal living arrangements. The conservator may decide where the conservatee lives, including whether they can stay in their own home or be moved to a care facility. 6, right to make personal decisions. This can include decisions about daily activities, such as where to go, what to see, and what to do. 7, right to consent to marriage or divorce. The conservator may have the authority to make decisions about the conservatee's marital status. I will share with you some tools and strategies that would support lives of independent for neurodivergent individuals using supportive decision-making rather than putting the neurodivergent individuals on conservatorships. I will be providing the audience with 3 key differences between supportive decision-making and conservatorship. Ask yourself, what legal context helps or impedes an individual's capacity to act on their own behalf? If the Department of Developmental Services is the conservator, then the Department of Developmental Services will always use supportive decision-making first before using a conservatorship for people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. In other words, today we will talk about both supportive decision-making and conservatorship. You should be able to understand at least 3 key differences between the 2 pathways after we reach the end of this training session that will support you to engage in better advocacy work for people living with neurodiverse individuals. So what is supportive decision-making? Supportive decision-making is a process where a person with a disability is provided with assistance to make their own decisions. Like, for example, when I meet with my circle of support for my quarterly individual program plan, my IPP, my service coordinator at the regional center tells me 3 different options for regional center citizens, so I could get a live, equitable life with everyone else I discussed the service options with my circle of support team members. We discussed the pros and cons of each service choice. Once I weighed all the options that I've talked about with my support team, I can make an informed decision for myself. Supportive decision making is not having my support team automatically make the decisions for me. With support decision making, the neurodivergent individual is always making their own decisions with support from their team. Support teams, typically of extended family and friends and service providers, who may tell them what options are available, can assist in making these effective and meaningful decisions. The essence of this concept is to help people in making their own decisions rather than people making several types of decisions for them. This model assumes that everyone needs help in making decisions, at least some of the time, regardless of what state you live in. Someone wanting or needing should not have the right of self-determination effectively taken away from them. So, what is conservatorship? A conservatorship is a court proceeding in which the court appoints another person or organization, like the Department of Developmental Services in California, to make decisions for someone who has been found unable to manage their affairs, which is called the conservatee. This can take away rights in finance, healthcare, or where the conservatee will be living. A conservatorship is designed to protect the person who cannot otherwise protect themselves, but which results in a significant diminishment of that same person's freedom under their conservator. The conservator makes decisions instead of the individual being able to make decisions for themselves. And most times, if any at all, they have little to say what these decisions are. Now we are on the same page about what conservatorship and supported decision making are. Let's move to the systems. I am going to be discussing three major differences between supportive decision making and conservatorship: autonomy and versus control. Supportive decision making is the only way to gain autonomy under the system, and this is the main significant point between the two paths. Supportive decision making, which recognizes the right of the individual to autonomy, it naturally implies an agency by people to control their own lives, and that everyone has their own needs, but always appreciate help or take it. Control the system gives the single person a minimal decisions in which must be made by a human are still theirs alone, with advisors there for guidance and ideas. Conservatorship, on the other hand, conversely is remarkably more restrictive. The conservator is legally authorized to act on the behalf of the conservatee in place of themselves, and usually consists for little or no involvement from the person placed under the conservatorship. Now I'm going to be discussing the three major differences of support decision making and support decision: flexibility and rigidity. By contrast, supportive decision-making is far more the open model. It serves different kinds of abilities and delivers from low to high support to the person. One example of supportive decision-making is my parents have been my healthcare decision makers in case I am unable to make my own healthcare decisions. This is called a healthcare proxy, using supportive decision making. Such flexibility gives people with different abilities understanding levels to access what works best for them and is fair over time. Supportive decision making, this model works for just about anyone. Further, it can be customized to people to provide an assistant level or type of service that serves the individual best. For instance, one may need help in financial matters, but remain able to decide his or her health care. Thus, it better tracks the nuances of something like decision-making capacity over time as a person changes and adapts, because people are changing all the time. On the other hand, conservatorship is very rigid. After a conservatorship is unfortunately put in place, the conservatorship receives blanket authority to make many decisions on the behalf of the conservatee. Any changes, form, or terminations of the conservatorship must go through the courts, which can be exceedingly difficult and time extensive. Once again, such rigidity of the conservator type order will likely leave an otherwise fully competent person unable to make effective decisions about those same individuals are also capable of making. Having a conservatorship placed on a person is civil death. Informal and legal processes. Supportive decision making, this is a less formal arrangement and does not require a court intervention to start. These are often made by the individual and the supporters via agreed ways of working. This can be flexible and person-centered. Meanwhile, a conservatorship is a formal legal process that must go through a court. The court must find the individual is not competent of making decisions for themselves. From there, the court will nominate a conservator to act on their behalf. The process can be slow, costly, and usually requires long-term court supervision. Supportive decision-making is primarily an empowerment-focused process. A lot of work is built around independence of the individual so that somebody can make their own decisions and have some sense of control over their life. It means that everyone, if given the right backing and a chance not to fail, can self-direct their outcomes. Conservatorship is about protecting, intended to protect them from dangers of hazards, such as whether they be financial threats, healthcare hazards, or other sorts of conditions. Finally, the price of security. It is important to realize that this band of protection comes at great cost. It removes freedom and liberty from the individual under the conservatorship. However, they do it in very different ways to support these people. Whether or not people are able to make their own decisions and their choices we provide support and assistance to help everyone make their own decisions. Why these laws are in place to protect the fact that a conservatorship is often a loss of autonomy and once interacted can be very impossible to undo. We must be thoughtful about what approach could best serve the particular individual we are working with, whether as an advocate, professional, family member, or a service provider. In other words, how can we best empower this person? Let them make their own decisions with the support they need. Thus, they need to be given the tools in order that the decision process can occur by enabling a further appreciation of their own life situation. Now I'm going to be talking about some cultural considerations. A few things to keep in mind. Cultural beliefs about who should make decisions are another major factor, especially around healthcare and end of life. An example of the concept of individual autonomy and decision making versus family considered approach that differs from one population to another and can influence treatment, which sets the norms for openness and truth telling practiced by Anglo-American models. Family importance. In several cultures, the pride of family is the most important thing to consider for decision making, including family members and discussions about supportive decision making as well. This might reflect a crucial step in acknowledging the family involvement, ensuring decisions are made that respect cultural values and expectations. Communication styles. They have the ability to effectively communicate using cultural nuances. Certain cultures in particular seem to like indirect communication, while other cultures might prefer directness. Adapting your communication to the family's preferred style can help with comprehension and compliance. Understanding cultural beliefs about health and disability. This refers to the impact of cultural beliefs on how families view health, illness, and disability. For example, in some cultures, disability is understood as spiritual or family karma, which influence their decision-making processes. Family discussions of supported decision-making with the context of cultural beliefs and values can make them sound more relatable to families from these cultural different backgrounds. Empowerment and self-determination, while guiding people towards being internally motivated to be in a charge of their lives. Nothing should take one's political correctness rights away from them, even on the path, which means for self-determination as self, as defined vividly across different cultures. In some cultural contexts, communal decision-making is more emphasized over individual choices with the supportive decision-making model. Training and resources. Cultural reflective resources as well as direct training around supportive decision-making can improve family comprehension of the process. Such assistance might take the form of cultural sensitivity training sessions or information resources. In closing, we understand that support decision-making and conservatorship can both be used together for people with neurodevelopmental disabilities.
The UC Davis Mind Institute was founded in 1998 with a promise to reduce and prevent the disabilities that can be associated with autism and other neurodevelopmental conditions. Every day, our clinicians and researchers make progress on that promise. Our groundbreaking research on autism, Fragile X syndrome, chromosome 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, ADHD, and other conditions associated with disability are helping affected individuals achieve their fullest potential. Please visit our website or our social media platforms to find out more about current studies, upcoming events, and how you can help make a difference.